is a remarkable reversal in attitudes from just a few months ago, when the broader economy seemed relatively healthy, but Wall Street was traumatized by billions of dollars in mortgage-related losses. Now bankers and investors appear ready to look past the crisis to more profitable times, while consumers find themselves in a more precarious position as the job market weakens and banks make it harder to borrow money. It is, of course, not uncommon for Wall Street to run ahead for the broader economy. Investors, after all, make money by anticipating the future. The job market, by contrast, improves more slowly than other aspects of the economy. But the specialists say the two sides will eventually converge. Either the markets will give up their recent gains. If the optimists are right, the broader economy will show greater strength as tax rebate checks and lower interest rates stimulate the economy. There have been false dawns before. Last spring, after several mortgage companies collapsed, Mr. Paulson and the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Ben S. Bernanke, said the problems appeared to be contained.
It is about 100 years since that great Canadian-born physician Sir William Osler, Regius Professor of Medicine in Oxford, complained about the increasing influence of the pharmaceutical industry on the medical profession. He would be turning in his grave at the way the industry now dominates doctors' prescribing habits. It does this not only by direct and indirect pressure on the doctors themselves, but also by encouraging the public to ask for scripts. Dams are huge man-made structures that act as barriers on a river. Today, the main reason people build dams is to produce electricity. They are also built to restrict and control the flow of water in a river. Throughout history, dams have been used to prevent flooding and to irrigate farmland. Dams supply about 1/6 of the world's electricity, and they significantly reduce the risk of floods and droughts. They also make water easier to access, especially in desert-like areas, where water is in low supply. There are, however, some negative effects of damming rivers. Many people's homes are knocked down to make space for the dam, and flooding can occur in the reservoir, which is the area behind the dam where water collects. This can cause valuable farmland to become submerged under the lakes.
Historically, reasons for the migration of Asians to the United States were similar in some ways to those for the Atlantic migration of Europeans, to escape from poverty and a civil war and to find employment opportunity and freedom. Chinese laborers were recruited to build the Transcontinental Railroad in the mid-19th century and provide domestic services in cities such as San Francisco. They were followed by the Japanese and Filipinos in the early 20th century who labored in Hawaiian plantations, Californian farms, and Alaskan canneries. Cities and towns are not only growing in size and number, they are also gaining a new influence. The urban transition offers significant opportunities to improve the quality of life, but whether this potential is realized depends critically on how cities are managed and on the national and local policies affecting their development. The development of urban areas is also closely linked to the rural economy through the exchange of labor, goods, services, information, and technology. Neglecting urban issues leads to significant social and environmental costs, however. To figure out these counterintuitive findings, the researchers conducted an experiment in a hotel room. They rounded up some lizards, gave them a perch, and used a leaf blower to mimic the effects of the high winds. They set up a net to catch any lizards that lost their grip. As the artificial wind blew, the lizards moved so the perch took the most of the airflow, but their hind legs would stick out, and if those rear limbs stuck out too far, They acted as sails. Eventually, those back legs were blown off the perch, and the lizards were just holding on with their front two legs. Last year, astronomers observed two neurons stars collide. A crash transmitted in gravitational waves to detectors here on Earth, represented in sound, so you can hear a small upward sweep in frequency in the data if you listen closely. Several seconds later, the first waves of electromagnetic radiation arrived here on Earth, the first time a collision has been detected by both light and gravitational waves. And it's in studying the electromagnetic echoes of the collision that astrophysicists have gotten a far better glimpse of what really happened after those binary neutron stars merged. 130 million light-years away. Oh yeah, absolutely. So it gives us an understanding of basically all the nitty-gritty of what's going on after the merger takes place. Kunal Muli, an astrophysicist at Caltech.
Fighting in Afghanistan and Pakistan meant that polio eradication did not go well in those countries in 2007, a World Health Organization expert said last week. They are two of the last four nations that have not eliminated the disease. In Afghanistan, most cases were in southern provinces in Taliban control. In Pakistan, many were in the remote tribal border areas where Osama bin Laden is still being pursued and local militants are battling the government. Polio experts see the territory differently, as one epidemiological block with two transmission corridors, one in the mountainous north, where cases of polio strain known as type 1 are common, and one in the flatter south, where type 3 prevails. Tribes migrate east-west across the borders, following harvests, trade routes, and jobs. Polio went as far southeast as Karachi, where there is no fighting, but immunization drives remain weak, the report said. Crowded slums and petty corruption disrupt efforts, an expert said. The report spoke as a breakthrough in August when the Taliban started letting vaccinators work in their territory. Most patients with type 2 diabetes should start taking statins and cholesterol-fighting drugs as a preventative measure against heart disease, whether or not they have high cholesterol levels, according to new guidelines released yesterday. The recommendations from the American College of Physicians call for moderate doses of statins by people with diabetes who are older than 55 and for younger patients who have any other risk factor for heart disease, like high blood pressure or a history of smoking. The new guidelines are outlined in April 20 issue of the Annals of Internal Medicine, in an article that noted that about 16 million Americans have type 2 diabetes and that 800,000 new cases are diagnosed every year. The lead author of an article accompanying the guidelines, Dr. Sandeep Vijan of the University of Michigan, said that almost everyone with type 2 diabetes should be on a statin. In years past, doctors were afraid to let heart patients exercise. When my father had a heart attack in 1968, he was kept sedentary for 6 weeks. Now, heart attack patients are in bed barely half a day before they are up and moving. Dr. Moffat said, the core of the cardiac rehab is a progressive exercise program to increase the ability of the heart to pump oxygen and nutrient-rich blood more effectively throughout the body. The outcome is better endurance, greater ability to enjoy life, and decreased mortality. The same goes for patients with congestive heart failure. Heart failure patients as old as 91 can increase their oxygen consumption significantly. Dr. Moffat said, aerobic exercise lowers blood pressure in people with hypertension, and it improves peripheral circulation in people who develop cramping leg pains when they walk, a condition called intermittent claudication.